hit that like, everybody, if you could. That'd be really helpful. Let them know we're here. And, oh, it's very exciting. It's very exciting. Lots of show today. Three, two, one, and hold on one second. Almost there. There we go. Hey, look at that. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Houseparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show, and hello, chat room. What's going on, people? Yeah, I'm letting my hair down today. You know, because it's hot here in Vegas, and nothing keeps your neck warm on a nice Vegas summer day like big flowing locks. Hit that like, if you will. Apparently, there's a big problem. The right wing is having a panic attack because of apparently trans men with beards or cross-dressers or whatever is causing them to panic. And apparently, they have this thing about like guys with long hair. Apparently, it really freaks them out. And this one guy in particular, this one dude with long hair in particular, and it's not me, although I think I come in a close second. It's what was his name? Jesus. Yeah. I mean, they don't just hate his haircut. They hate him in general. Yeah. I think he's a big old commie, he loves our enemies or something like that. It's just nuts. Anyways. So, I figure I'm in good company with my locks down, Right on. Chris P got their voting rights back. Fantastic. Man bun. I can't do the man bun. Jet wants me to do the man bun. We love Jet. Jet, how's it going, man? He even tried to teach me how to do it. I just couldn't bring myself to do it. And you know why? Because like the day he showed me, he does it great. He's got a fantastic man bun happening when he needs one. And it's good when you're working on shit. And I have sort of done a high ponytail when I'm getting acupuncture on my neck. But I couldn't do it because I think Rusty Trombone did it. And I was like, it's either all down or all up. I either got gymnastics hair or elf hair. I can do the midway, or I could do a soft ponytail and be like a founding father, look like Mel Gibson in The Postman, only nice. But yeah, now let's first go to somebody today, if I will, and hit the like if you like what I do here. And I'm going to do a good job at it. And if you don't want to hit the like right away, wait till I get a couple clips in and go, God damn, this guy's good. He's rock solid. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it. What I would ask though is, I know the maggots certainly they're not subscribed. Certainly they don't have the notification bell turned on. So the only way the maggots can know that it's time to come and freak out in the chat and give us that little boost that they give us, that little goose, as it were. Oh, that reminds me. 1 second. Family thing. Yeah, you're good. Sorry, family business. So, what was it? Maggots, blah, blah, blah. What was I saying? Oh, yes, trolls. We love having trolls here, especially on Shitter. Let everybody know on Shitter. We're broadcasting on Shitter right now. Hi, people on Shitter. I'm sorry you can't, wasn't he in The Postman too? I don't know. Yeah, the Patriot. Anyway, so, point being, Mel Gibson. If you're on any of those sites, let the people on Shitter know, or Threads, and I'm even live on Instagram right now. So hi, Insta people. Insta noodles you. What's up? Pigtails, it's a bit much, you perv. No, not going to do it. I won't. Okay, now let's get into today's show, because there's a I guess as the first and probably only debate approaches next week, there's this sort of countdown to Trump has dug this hole and jumped into it, where he's done nothing but say that Trump is, Trump says he has the best words. He knows the best people. He knows more about ISIS and economics than the terrorists or the terror economics people do. All that shit, right? He knows more than anybody. And meanwhile, Joe Biden gets lost, can't put two sentences together, doesn't know where he is, and unless he's coked out of his brain, he can't do a speech or some shit. And this is the low bar he's been setting for Biden. Now Biden, all he has to do is be affable, laugh off Trump's bullshit, speak passionately about his own stuff, and then and seem relaxed with the details, and he's kind of done. Like that's a bunt debate that almost anybody can set up, right? Meanwhile, though, there's a lot of reason to panic on the Reich wing, and no one knows that better than this fella right here. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the artist formerly known as Alex Jones. Infosource.com, I think, is his website. I'm Alex Jones. Don't get us mixed up, okay? All right. And he's giving a press conference at the federal courthouse outside of in Houston. And I got to say, they're liquidating Infowars. So what's not to like? Here we go. Oh my God! And he's got theme music. Piss off. Is that it? It sounds like an ultrasound of his colon. I got to say, it's more like this. Couldn't find a parking space? That's why they play the music. Okay, now he's going to speak, which ironically sounds exactly the same. Okay, here we go.
Wanting the money that is there.
Hold on.
Now we've been in bankruptcy for almost 2 years, proving that everything they claimed about me having hundreds of millions of dollars was not true. Notice you don't hear about that anymore. None of that.
First of all, no one has stopped saying Alex Jones is worth hundreds of millions of dollars. He's got a net worth of about $270 million, and he's been hiding chunks of it. The idea that he's been in bankruptcy court and nobody believes he's worth all that is a bunch of shit. The other thing, too, is that a good portion of his worth is in the ownership of houses and businesses, apartment buildings, and shit like that, like standard investments, stocks, that kind of stuff. Because while he preaches the end of the world, he does not in any way expect it to actually happen. Fuck this dude.
Was true. And now, instead of wanting the money that is there, the so-called plaintiffs, who really aren't the families, it's the government that's been behind it, that's come out in court.
Bullshit.
Want me silenced. They settle.
No, they don't. Hey, asshole. You're allowed to speak for free. You are. You're allowed to speak for free. Now, you can't make money off of, off of their dead fucking children. That's what we're talking about here. Nobody's stopping this asshole from talking. He's doing it right now. It's the same thing Trump says.
Courthouse steps, the plaintiffs' lawyers in Texas and Connecticut, we want Alex Jones silenced. That's what this is all about. This is about the destruction of the First Amendment in America.
No, it isn't. Look at all those cameras. You can talk all you want. You just can't make money on the backs of dead kids.
Okay, and now the plaintiffs' lawyers, Democratic Party lawyers out of Connecticut have filed today to try to take real Alex Jones on X away from me.
Right, because it's a publicity channel for Infowars. It's not just you. By the way,
now they want my identity.
Why? You're not the real Alex Jones. You don't think we actually believe this shit, do you? You think the real Alex Jones is alive? If anything Alex Jones said was in any way true, he clearly was killed 2 decades ago and replaced with a balloon that smells like feet.
The terms of service of X, you cannot do that because it's my own personal property.
Yeah, you can. You can sell your own X accounts. You can lease them out to other people. You can do whatever the fuck you want. And they, by the way, they can't maybe use it to pretend they're you. That's the rule. They can turn it into an Alex Jones parody account. And nothing's going to stop you from opening Alex 7142659 8675301 Jenny.
These people want me silenced. It is completely
and sweaty
and totally transparent.
Yes, it's so transparent how they want you silenced, which is why you're allowed to speak in front of a courthouse full of officers of the court that engage in legal maneuvers with the federal government, the state government, and the local government all the time.
And the world is seeing through this. I was asked by one reporter earlier, is this the end? This
Yeah, absolutely.
is probably the end of Infowars here very, very soon, if not today.
Can we hold on one more time? What was that?
And the world is seeing through this. I was asked by one reporter earlier, is this the end? This is probably the end of Infowars here.
Well, that's nice. I'm sorry. What was that again?
Transparent. Mm-hmm. And the world is seeing through this. I was asked by one reporter earlier, is this the end? This is probably the end of Infowars here very, very soon, if not today, in the next few weeks or months. But it's just the beginning of my fight against tyranny as the founder.
Wait a minute. This is just the beginning of your fight against tyranny? So this has been bullshit this whole time? What the hell?
Founder of the U.S. Navy said during the Revolutionary War, John Paul Jones, when his ship, about a third the size of a British ship he was fighting.
Yes. What did Ringo say, though?
Fighting was starting to sink. And the British officers held a cross on their bullhorn and said, would you like to surrender? And he said, surrender. I have only begun to fight.
I've not yet begun to fight, is the quote. I'm just saying, that's not what he said. It's not, I mean, it may even be, an exaggerated tale to begin with, but the quote itself says, I have not yet begun to fight, not I've only begun to fight. What?
People know I've been right. They know what I really cover. Tens of millions of people a day want to hear what I actually have to say, not what.
Well, then say it into your phone and upload it on X on another channel and they'll find you.
The corporate media says. The corporate media have become mercenaries for the globalists, for BlackRock, for the WEF, and the public knows that. So the power structure, not just here, but around the world, is.
Yeah, put something in the wine at the parties you hang out at, and dosed your cigars that you smoked with Joe Rogan, and made you mentally. They turned you into a sort of an idiot version of a Manchurian candidate, that overeats, a Manchurian candidate. Yeah, that and they made you defame the parents of dead children. That's what happened. The government just. It must be, I don't know if it's Jewish space lasers, something at DARPA.
Is in full collapse. The corporate media is basically dead in a shadow.
Nah, it's not really. It's actually making money hand over fist.
Of its former self, because it's become a prostitute of the big corporations and tried to wage war against the independent popular press. All the most popular hosts, not just here but around the world, are populist anti-globalists, whether it's Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan or Alex Jones or Russell Brand. The list.
Oh, so basically, nepo babies, doomsprayers, and accused rapists. That's the crowd you're running in. Here's a good idea. Why don't you, I mean, this is sort of like the I don't know, I don't even know what to fucking call these guys because they're not journalists or whatever. So this is the independent media version of the five, geniuses, legal geniuses that Trump is always talking about. It's always Dershowitz. He just can't think of a fucking attorney that didn't get a fucking massage at Jeffrey Epstein's house.
This goes on and on. Joe Rogan has an audience 100 times that of CNN.
Right. But it's a podcast and it doesn't move anything. It really doesn't. If anything, the vast majority of his voters aren't engaged at all. Secondly, just if I may, for the record, Rogan is far bigger than any of these assholes, has been a platform multiple times over for anti-vaxxers and all kinds of assholes, and he's still on the air. He's still got his Spotify contract. The fact that he hasn't been taken down and he's 10 times bigger than this dickhead right now and totally leapfrogged ahead of him shows that this is bullshit. If they were coming for all these, he would be he'd be a low head on the totem pole. They'd be going after Rogan every chance they got, right? If they're worried about the message, there is no bigger conduit directly of bullshit anti-vax, proto anti-globalist neo-nonsense bullshit than Joe Rogan. Right? Hold on. I think Jamie, put that thing up on the wall. Hold on, I got fur on my neck. I don't know what it was when the dog came in here. Jamie, put that video up on there where I agree with everything Alex Jones says, and I say everything he says, and I've talked about everything he said except for the Sandy Hook thing, and I'm still on the air. Jamie, put the thing up on the air where put the thing up where I've done everything that he says you can't do, and I'm still here. Play that video. Oh, we're filming it right now. Cool.
I have an audience 15 times out of CNN. Tucker Carlson has an audience 100 times the size of CNN.
No, he does not.
CNN and other corporate media like it are zombies. They are empty husk that no one believes or listens to anymore. And so this is a desperate deep state attempt using lawfare.
Oh, deep state lawfare. Yeah, he's just. Do they have one of? Is there a right-wing version of that vocabulary calendar where you just rip off one of these bullshit phrases and then they're talking point phrases? Today's word is deep state. That was tomorrow's word too. Right? It was yesterday's word. What the fuck?
To shut me down and silence me. Judge Lopez has been fair. He's followed the law. He's been very frustrated by the fact that the plaintiffs do not want money and have admitted it and have only used the bank.
No, they don't want it less than everything. If they won 3 times the value of your company, they get the whole fucking thing. They don't get $5 million to stop bothering you, you cruel, sadistic moron.
Bankruptcy process to try to torture me and harass me. It's done the opposite. My resolve against this tyranny has never been stronger.
Why? So your resolve against tyranny was hardened by the fact that your money is being taken away? Kind of unpatriotic, anti-American, lazy, fake revolutionary horseshit is this? Right? I mean, think about what he's saying. Until they came for my money, I was never this resolved to fight tyranny. I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't tyranny until it happened to him. This motherfucker is a Trump voter. Mr. Dictator on day one. Trump steaks, almost like Trump the snake, Trump steaks, Trump wine, Trump water, all these failed businesses, Trump casino, everything takes a shit, didn't even write his own business book. This asshole is going to vote for him, which, by the way, if you believed anything that he says he believes, would you register to vote? Would you give the government your address? Some Alex Jones, Dimfowar asshole in the chat or online or any of these sites. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Twitter, I'm on YouTube and Twitch right now. one of you has to be out there that can explain to me how this motherfucker has been talking about a global group of elites that controls the entire world, can kill anyone they want with like manufactured diseases and fucking laser beams and like microwaves that cook your insides and all kinds of shit like that. He was talking about that shit 15 years ago, and yet he's still alive? How is that possible? How is anything he said at all true and he's still alive? Other than, I suppose, the one option is he's actually working for them and this is all part of the conspiracy. His job is to scramble your fucking brains and make you so stupid you'll think Donald Trump is a Christian man. Like, that's his goal, that's his job. He works for the global elitists to make you fucking dumber. It's the only thing that makes sense. It is literally the only thing that makes sense, other than the fact that he is a big, fat, steaming liar.
I will not be silenced. I'm giving...
Yeah, we know, dummy. You got a cell phone. I can broadcast from my cell phone. You can too. Nobody's stopping you. You can stand on a fucking street corner in Austin and say anything you want. You just can't make money through Infowars on the backs of dead kids and their parents' sorrow because you're a punk.
Hundreds of interview opportunities a day. I've got all these incredible groups that want to work for me.
Oh yeah, they so do.
Or work with me. And
one or the other.
Now,
or work on you.
This information coming out and this open, naked attempt to silence me has blown up in their face. So the judge today could...
It doesn't look like it. I got to say, there's a lot of news covering the area because you're a rich asshole who lives in Texas. And anytime a rich asshole in Texas gets their comeuppance, there's a bunch of news and indie news and locals that come up and film them blathering on the fucking courthouse steps or want to interview their attorney, right? Anytime a rich Texas asshole gets his butt kicked in court, it's noise in the state. So there's going to be a dozen reporters, and oftentimes more than are actually here. But you'll notice the total lack of supporters. You know what I mean? There's not an army of... Think about, this asshole says he's got, 150 times or 15 times what the audience that CNN has. And they're dedicated. And they they need to hear the truth coming from Alex Jones. Where are they? Where are they? They weren't walking up the street next to him. They weren't standing across the streets. I don't see a fucking free Alex Jones sign. Do you? I'm dead serious. Where are they? Where are they? Yeah, Russia. Way to go, chat room. Yeah, you're probably right. But isn't that shouldn't there be? Yeah, some of them are in J6 prison. I think those are more like Roseanne fans at this point. Right? I mean, there's only one other place where they could also be, besides the fact that they are purchased views on Indian bot farms where they just have a bunch of phones on chargers running in a row and somebody makes them watch his show and just run it on these devices and boosts his numbers, which he's been doing for fucking years, right? The other place, there could be people who would be there going free Alex Jones, but they're too busy standing outside of Mar-a-Lago like an asshole dressed in wearing a shirt with fucking Trump's head on Rocky's body in front of Mar-a-Lago, a club they will never be allowed into. First of all, they can't afford it, and anybody that can't afford it wouldn't bring them in as a guest, and Trump's not going to invite them in because they'll dirty the fucking place up. Because the whole point of having a place like Mar-a-Lago is so you don't have to surround yourself with plebes. I kind of personally feel that Trump would have been able to hold on to his man of the people bullshit if he'd have stayed in his own building, because at least it's an apartment building with other people living in it with stores in the base. You could possibly run into them. This is as Streisand fucking compound as you can get.
Rule to put this into a Chapter 7, free speech systems, and appoint a trustee and begin to shut it down the next few days or weeks. Or he can hand me back the company. They're still going to be attacking at the state level and trying to shut it down. Regardless, Infowars is not the operation. Alex Jones and my crew and my listeners and my viewers and our guest is the operation. And that's why this is only going to make me stronger.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be doing that, though. I don't know if you noticed this, but like the guests on Infowars have also started to dry up. I mean, granted, there's, Kanye will come on, or Nick Fuentes, or some of these assholes, but do you see anybody who's like in sort of the normie Republican world showing up on Infowars to give him their backing anymore after the Sandy Hook stuff? Maybe there's been a couple of them, but not like there used to be. I think Trump's probably the only one stupid enough to say anything positive about Alex Jones at this point. Even like, whatever fucking Hawley and Cotton and all those guys pretend he doesn't exist.
And I will never surrender in this information war. And as Colonel Travis said, victory or death. We are winning.
Okay, asshole. What, all right. Metaphorically. Victory or death. Let's go with that. Victory means you get your company back. Death means it gets shut down. Because you're not actually fighting, you lazy slob. This asshole isn't going to take up arms against anybody, nor are any of his viewers going to take up arms on his behalf. We have something to worry about if one of Trump's fucking flunkies decides that they're going to attack somebody, right? Over the classified documents case, or him going to jail, or any of that kind of stuff. It's not going to happen with this asshole. There's nobody willing to fucking die for Alex Jones's bottom line. I don't even know how you accumulate wealth for the end of the world. Why would you, if you really believe the globalists are going to turn this whole place upside down, the country's basically going to be on fire, and all this stuff, all the shit he's been saying, that these are demonic forces that are in control, and it's probably going to be 1,000 years before Jesus can come back and clear the decks, but we're here throughout all of it. If you actually believed any of that shit, would you have a savings account? By the way, somebody who in the chat room just said that. Yeah, there are no logos on any of these cameras. Now, there's some down here on the microphones, and it's local Texas news. It's a Houston station, KOHL, I think is what it is. And there's another one, like, again, this is the same. Anytime you have a rich Texas asshole who gets in legal trouble, standing in front of a courthouse, these are the same people who are going to film it, and the other half of the cameras are his. Like, I swear to God, probably 8 of the crew, of the people filming him right now, are his own crew shooting this from fucking 5 different directions. If you'll notice how many angles there are of this is from his show. That should tell you something. Did you notice that? Did you notice how many, like, there's like 5 different angles on this? And they've been cutting around it from this angle and the other side and all this stuff, right? That's his, that means these are his cameras. It means he's got at least 4 or 5 crew members there filming this shit, which means, and they're all like that guy, that guy, that guy. If they got a big fucking TV camera like that one, they're probably local. Although I wouldn't doubt if at Infowars they had one of these old cameras sitting around and this dude's just like carrying it to make it look like the local news is covering him.
The people are winning. The corporate media is lying. And I'm shooting this right now for the start of my show today, 11 a.m.
I'm shooting this right now for the start of I'm shooting this right now. There you go. So you just basically told the 2 real cameras that this is just a publicity stunt.
Central coming up today.
Today.
In just a few minutes. We're going to have the interview I did yesterday for an hour and 40 minutes with the great Tucker Carlson.
Yeah. Yeah, by the way, Tucker's been doing this like, I don't know what happened. After he came back from Russia, all it's been is right-wing circle jerks. It's either him interviewing other right-wingers like Alex Jones or Alex Jones people interviewing him. And it doesn't matter. It's like they're just filming conversations between the 2 of these dickheads. Like, Tucker and whoever he's up, him, Russell Brand, him and, like everybody but like Ben Shapiro, him and Candace Owens. That's all they're doing right now. They're not actually talking to anybody who does anything. They're talking to other talkers and pretending this, it's just, that's just how famous we fucking are,
Then another hour-long interview with Russell Brand and more.
Oh, okay. So a second-generation rich kid who cost his last company, $700 million, almost $750 million, and a guy fighting 4 rape charges right now. It's a class act over there at Infowars.
And then by then this hearing should be over, and I should be back in the 4th hour into the war room today. But they could shut us.
Oh, you're taking over for Steve Bannon when he goes to jail?
Down this afternoon.
By the way, I wouldn't rule that out. Just saying, I would not rule that out. That Alex Jones fills in, goes to DC and fills in for Steve Bannon leading up to the election at the war room, whatever bullshit that they do.
I want to commend the crew. I want to commend our listeners.
Which there are more crew than listeners.
I want to commend our supporters. I know there's
also listeners. Does this asshole still think he's on the radio in any meaningful way?
Congressional hearings coming up on what's been done to me and others. It came out the FBI and CIA created these cases, went out and organized the plaintiffs,
and made you send your supporters to piss on the graves of toddlers. Yeah, it's amazing what the CIA can do. I mean, how do they do it? Do they dose you and then they have to do a fucking Clockwork Orange thing on you where they sit and they show you videos until you do what you're told?
And the whole thing as a State Department deep state operation against the American people. And this is all coming out in Congress.
No, it's not.
It's a very,
by the way, wear a hat.
Very exciting time to be alive. So as
I agree.
we boil here in the Houston heat, the real heat is being put on the establishment.
Boom.
That has the lowest approval rating ever. Congress.
Not even close to true.
The phony President Biden. All of them are the ones that are collapsing. The American people.
Yeah, they're all collapsing. You're doing great though. Yeah. Basically, Donald Trump did to Infowars what he did to his casino. And for the record, yes, that's. Thank you for pointing that out. For those that are wondering, I am the deep state. Okay, if you hear people talking about the deep state, they're talking about me. Okay, all right. I got you deep state right here. I may not hit bottom, but I'll scrape the shit out of the sides. And I'm telling you, I'm the Democratic establishment. Get used to the idea. Bring it. Do your worst.
Are rising. And so God bless you all. I want to thank all the viewers and people out there. They're trying to take real Alex Jones away on X. It's preposterous. There's no bearing in law, but it shows.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, they can. If you had a billboard, they could seize the contract for the billboard and then use the billboard to put other shit up or sell the space themselves to recoup some of their money.
It's about silencing me because they want to silence you. As Trump has said.
Yeah, which is moronic since, again, nothing is silencing this guy. We're not talking about silence, asshole. You just can't make money off your speech the way you did. That's not silence. That is not taking away your freedom of speech. By the way, your freedoms in the Constitution are not just the things you can fucking monetize. I got news for you. If you decided to run a bed and breakfast for veterans, they would not be able to shut it down because you were quartering soldiers. Do you understand what I'm saying? You have the right to do that if you want to. They just can't force you to do it because financially that is taking space from you or property space from you. You can give it away all you fucking want to. And here we have the sort of an inversion of that. Good Lord, this is lame.
1,000 times. They're not coming after him. They've got to get through him to get to you. And
why? Why? What do you think they... I'm sorry, did you not see that they arrested the Jan 6ers? You think they're like, well, we'd love to arrest and throw all these violent dickheads who attacked cops, but we got to arrest Trump first and then we can do it. What? You think they needed to bust him for financial crimes or election interference so that they could bust other people for financial crimes and election interference? Good Lord.
It's the same thing. But it's well known on the internet. It's a maxim. The Alex Jones tip jar. Alex Jones was right. Alex Jones represents the people. And that's what this is about. So.
Yeah, bullshit. I mean, now you just sound like fucking like a low-res sports celebrity.
In what is the twilight of Infowars, like the Phoenix, we will come back 10 times stronger, just like.
I'm honestly, I think you have a mild chance at being a moth from a larva. You were kind of disgusting, and now you're delicate and don't have much of an impact. You just spend the rest of your life bouncing off a light bulb thinking it's the sun.
Like when Fox fired Tucker Carlson. So I want to thank my viewers, listeners, and supporters, and salute them all. And just remind everybody that this is the most critical election in world history, and I've been honored to be involved in this fight with you and our greatest days.
You're not in a, it's in a fight, fuckwad. This has nothing to do with the election. Never did. This asshole sent his viewers to attack the parents of children that had been slaughtered. Some of them, their bodies blown to pieces. They had to have closed caskets for them. And he thought that was suspicious because a 4-year-old that was shot 8 times wasn't in enough of a physical form for them to be able to have a viewing of their body in a casket. And this asshole sent his fans to piss on their graves. Get the fuck out of here. This had nothing to do with this election or even the last one, for fuck's sake. It didn't have to do with any of them, by the way. This is shit he's been into forever. He's been yelling about this crisis actor shit around shootings his entire time on since he was on cable access. And it was always because they're going to come and take your fucking guns away, which they never did. Never ever has there been a fucking door knock gun seizure fucking ever. And yet every time somebody's family member gets eviscerated at work or at school or in their fucking church, this prick calls them a liar and says the deaths never happened or they were murdered by the deep state to try and push a gun thing. Never ever putting the responsibility on the person that actually fucking did it. Always running interference for the shooter. That's why he's in the mess he's in. It has nothing to do with fucking voting or even the Trump campaign, for Christ's sake. He's aligning himself with it because he thinks that maggots will cover him. The way they throw themselves in front of the bus for Trump and his entire existence as Jeffrey Epstein's fucking wingman. Right? Yeah, he said Alex Jones tip jar. I think, I don't know what that was alluding to, but I think it's just they probably put something on his website. I'm not going to even give it the time of day to go look it up. This has nothing to do with the U.S. elections. This doesn't even have anything to do with fucking foreign policy. Yeah, he fucked around and he found out. And it took forever. Because let me tell you something. The parents of the Sandy Hook children, the sorrow that they had to go through, and again, because this prick was chasing them down with it, right, is horrifying. And because these children were toddlers, they were like first, second graders, third graders, they were incredibly young, that there is a sorrow that I think everybody feels around it. But this asshole did this to adults as well. Teenagers, teenage children, the Parkland kids. He did the same thing about them. But everybody else sort of just had to shake it off. It was just that the fucking the Sandy Hook parents just said enough is enough. Good Lord. What and he will always, whatever happens, if there's anything consistent about Alex Jones, is that he will always run interference for school shooters, workplace shooters, anybody who goes postal and kills their fucking neighbor or shoots up a church, Alex Jones will always be ready to run right in front of them and drop trow, bend over, and service them while blocking them from the brunt of their actions from the rest of society. By saying they didn't really do this, or they didn't mean to do this, they were controlled into doing this. They were made to do this by forces outside themselves. They're not responsible. That's who this guy is. And by the way, he doesn't do it because he cares about gun rights. He doesn't do it because he cares about the Constitution. He does it because he's got like fucking milking machines hooked up to the dipshits that watch his show, sucking every drop of attention and money he can out of them. And the reason he says I don't have the millions they say is because he's been shuffling it off and hiding it in fucking Cayman accounts for years. And I was on his fucking show once. I'm telling you. It was a joke. Ugh. Other than that, I have no opinion. Chat room, you guys are wonderful. That's like I didn't quite think that would get me as riled up as it did, but it's so disgusting. Like, Alex Jones is just a fucking pig. Yeah. Is that on YouTube? It probably is. I don't know. I don't know what's still up and what's coming down. I went on because my buddy Richard Hunter knew him from his time in Texas and got us on together, and I got him to admit that the ACA had some good stuff in it, and Richard got him to admit that Obama wasn't a bad person on the air. So probably won't be able to find it. Yeah. And like I said, he the night before he had gone to the movie that became the Citizens United case about Hillary, and all he talked about was how much red wine he drank and how much chocolate cake he ate. And I was like, okay, now I know you're totally full of shit. I even said it to him like when we were in the break. I'm like, now I know you're a liar, because nobody would go to something like that and say talk about the Clinton body count on the fucking on the air, and then eat food that's out in the open at a documentary that's supposed to bring them down. Right? Am I the only person who saw Wild Wild Country? All right. Now should we jump in? Yeah, it's like there's so much. All right. We haven't seen there's also been, obviously the deep. I guess today's phrase of the day is deep state. You know what I'm saying? And I'll show you why. Because apparently, according to Rob Schitt and Jamie Comover over here, it's they have so much evidence. There's so much evidence. We're up to our eyeballs. It's self-evident. You could see it. How many times have we heard that? How many times? There's so much evidence. It's everywhere. The evidence is everywhere. All you got to do is look. And yet anybody who looks goes, yeah, it's not, information is not evidence. It has to link to a crime. A smoking gun is only, germane to a criminal or situation when there's a dead person who's been shot and the gun was used to kill that person, allegedly, and not to protect them unsuccessfully or to protect yourself, because you could have a smoking gun and it's self-defense, right? You could be at a shooting range and somebody has a heart attack and there's a dead body and you have a smoking gun. It doesn't mean anything until they are linked. You see? Yes, just like controversy is not content, which is, the entire Infowars fucking, I was going to say system, but like money-making funnel. Yeah, so Rob Schitt and Dumb Shit are together, and this is why. It isn't because Comer is completely is terrible at what he's been trying to do, that he's a moron, that he's actually engaged in the same kind of criminality that he accuses Biden of. It's that the deep state keeps covering for the Bidens. Ambulance.
The Bidens, I guess they felt that they were untouchable in Washington. This is kind of a...
Yeah, I mean, and then Comer came, baby, and now they're running scared.
Look at, if you can just drop that name and know that there's really no consequences, why wouldn't you bring in millions from China?
Real quick, before we get into this, if I may. If I may. Jamie Comer helped a donor get Chinese hemp. What they got tested as marijuana. Hold on, let me shake this down. There we go. Jamie Comer has for months used his power in the House oversight to assail Hunter Biden's involvement in a failed business deal with a Chinese energy company. Meanwhile, he got Chinese pot delivered to the United States and had somebody drive a whole fucking truckload of it up from Murray State University, where they had it shipped to, which is where my grandfather was the president of that university, I'll have you know. China hemp. My best part of the whole thing was because it was Caudle Steele's, this guy who raised money for him, was engaged in this shit. And you know they were trying to fucking sneak it in under the hemp line or whatever. Okay. Well, Comer first acknowledged there was... where is it? The best part is the guy who came and picked it up. These are all the emails, by the way, and he used emails with his son's name, his minor son's name on them. Okay, he used two email aliases. He didn't just get seeds; they got plants. I'll show you. Is this what we're expecting? Let's see again. Comer's office fielded a second Chinese shipment. This one mislabeled that arrived 2 weeks after the DEA released the seized Italian hemp. On June 2nd, Comer's chief of staff wrote Gehring and Brannon, I have a package sitting in my office that is written in Chinese, at least I think. The package was labeled rapeseed, which is what they hid the hemp. They said they were hiding the hemp seeds under. That was the pot seeds, right? It turned out it was. While it was unclear why the package was mislabeled, Thomas speculated in email Gehring had done it as a decoy. Exactly what I'm thinking. Gehring replied, adding to MSU's Brandon to the chain, I would have. They all declined comment. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. FYI, for your eyes only, the driver who picked up the hemp seed was scared all the way back from Murray. He stated the odor was very strong and he observed a few truckers pass his truck and snicker. I was told the smell is identical to what Mary J smells like. I personally have to take their word for it. Sure you do.
Yeah, this is new evidence that we found as a result of the subpoenaed documents for Devin Archer that the Oversight Committee just received a few weeks ago that we've been pouring over. We knew that Hunter Biden was an equal partner along with Devin Archer and Jason Galanis in a scheme to defraud a Native American.
No, he wasn't. Those guys went to jail for this. He was not a partner in this. He was not charged in it. He wasn't involved in it. Devin Archer said so.
Pension fund. We knew that Jason Galanis went to prison for many years. In fact, he's still in prison over that.
Yeah, I know. You interviewed him from jail.
We knew that Devin Archer's about to go to prison for that.
Uh-huh.
But we knew that nothing ever happened to Hunter Biden. Until we got the documents, we had never seen evidence that the Securities and Exchange Commission was going to subpoena Hunter Biden until his attorney sent a letter to the Securities and Exchange Commission, the one that you just posted on the screen.
Why didn't they show it on the screen in this clip? What letter was that?
Reminding them who his client was, that his father was the sitting vice president of the United States, and then poof, it disappears and nothing happens to Hunter Biden.
So now
he would have testified against Devin Archer and the other guy.
you got to find out who was the Leslie Wolf over at the SEC, right? Who was the person that said, "Oh, Biden family, let's just make this go away"? And I assume you're going after that.
Yeah, eventually, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look, this is a new government.
Yeah, look, the guy went to jail. Do you think if he thought he could pry his ass out of jail, he was sent to jail during the Trump administration? Do you think the DOJ would have turned him fucking down?
agency. We knew the IRS was investigating the Bidens. We knew the Department of Justice in several jurisdictions were investigating the Bidens. We knew the FBI was investigating the Bidens. Now,
no, they weren't. No, they weren't. No. And by the way, every Biden is all Bidens is one Biden is none of the Bidens. No, the FBI looking into the gun charge because everybody made them in a charge that most Republicans don't even believe it should be a crime in the first place is not them looking into the Bidens. It's a charge about a gun in a dumpster. It's not the FBI looking into the Bidens.
Now we know the Securities and Exchange Commission was investigating the Bidens, all for a host of financial crimes, yet nothing ever happened. They were always told to stand down. That's what the Irish whistleblower said.
It wouldn't have mattered. If they had evidence against them, they would have arrested him. Why would the other two guys just roll over and go to jail and take one for the team for Hunter? Right?
This is more evidence.
He wasn't a part of that case. There's not even a suggestion that he was. As a matter of fact, in Devin Archer's testimony, he says he had no part of it. They had already split ways.
In this letter that we just disclosed from Hunter Biden's lawyers to a government agency. I mean, how many times does the Security and Exchange Commission drop an investigation where equal partners go to prison on someone and nothing happens? This is the only time I've ever learned of anything.
Okay, hold on. Hunter Biden's counsel responds to SEC subpoena 2016. Okay, so this is an article from fucking 2016. Wait, all right. Hunter Biden's counselor responds to SEC subpoena the 2016, something like that. Something like that. That's Fox News. Hunter Biden dropped NVP's Joe's name in 2016. The case against him could go to trial. New York Times, 2023. I want to see the actual article. The confidential nature of this investigation is very important to our client. It would be unfair, not just to our client, but also to his father. Okay, the vice president. Hunter dropped NVP's 2016 to a vote. Okay, so we'll do the Microsoft Network version of this. This is New York. It's New York Post. Hold on. New York Post, Fox News, New York Sun. Special counsel response to political criticism of Hunter Biden trial. Prosecutors behind Hunter Biden. Special counsel in California grand jury. Hunter Biden interview with special counsel. Jury finds Hunter Biden. Okay, maybe there's an article about it we'll go one step even further. Here you go. This is House Republicans say Hunter Biden used dad's role as VP to discourage further SEC scrutiny in 2016 probe. Want information from the SEC as part of the impeachment inquiry against. Hunter Biden gratuitously used his father's role as vice president in an effort to discourage further scrutiny in a 2016 U.S. Securities Exchange Commission investigation involving his business associates and their entities. House Oversight Committee Chairman Comer, ongoing impeachment inquiry. In 2016, attorneys with the SEC's Enforcement Division were investigating a tribal bond scheme in which several individuals were charged with violating federal securities laws. As part of this investigation, several of Hunter Biden's business associates and interconnected entities were implicated by the alleged conduct. Let's see. As part of the investigation, the SEC subpoenaed individuals and entities for documents, communications, and testimony. At the time, the SEC subpoenaed Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devin Archer, and Rosemont Seneca Bohai, an entity utilized by both Archer and Hunter Biden. Oh, this is the one that he testified like I wrote all the checks. Hunter didn't have anything to do with it. This was during his testimony. This is why. Comer and Jordan revealed that Hunter Biden was also subpoenaed as part of the investigation in March 2016 while Joe Biden was president. The subpoena for Hunter Biden compelled him to produce documents and communications regarding Rosemont Seneca Bohai. Comer and Jordan wrote was directly implicated in the tribal bond scheme. Citing the initial complaint, Comer and Jordan noted that in October 2014, Rosemont purchased the entirety of the second tribal bond issuance for $15 million. Archer, during his interview before the House committee last year, testified that Hunter Biden at the time was a corporate secretary of Rosemont and that they had a handshake 50-50 ownership. Comer and Jordan also noted that last month the House Ways and Means Committee voted to release IRS documents that showed Hunter Biden was certified on a document that he was, in fact, the secretary of Rosemont Seneca Bohai. According to Mr. Archer, Rosemont Seneca Bohai was set up to hold the equity of BHR, which stands for Bohai Harvest Rosemont Partners. BHR was supposed to be a private equity fund based in China to engage in cross-border investments, which has nothing to do with this thing yet. The RSB bank account was used to funnel other foreign payments and benefits to Hunter Biden, including money from Ukraine and a new sports car from Kazakhstan, right? That whole bullshit. not illegal, whatever. Also during a time when Biden was not in office. But they revealed Hunter Biden was responsive to a subpoena in 2016 and provided 1,749 responsive documents to the SEC as part of the investigation. Comer and Jordan revealed that Hunter Biden was responsive to the subpoena in 2016 and provided 1,749 responsive documents to the SEC as part of the investigation. Yeah, it sounds like a total dodge. But Comer and Jordan said that concerningly, Hunter Biden's attorney reminded in his response that his father was sitting vice president. As a threshold matter, we request that you treat this matter with the highest degree of confidentiality, consistent with the commission policy and applicable law. The confidential nature of this investigation is very important to our client. It would be unfair, not just to our client, but also his father, the Vice President of the United States, if his involvement in an SEC investigation, parallel criminal probe, were to become the subject of any media attention. So this isn't even about dissuading them from being involved in the actual criminal aspect of it. This or investigating any of it. It was didn't stop them from investigating shit. Just don't leak it to the media while you're looking into this. Comer and Jordan said Hunter's response gratuitously invoked his father's position as vice president in what could be interpreted as an effort to discourage further SEC scrutiny. I don't read it as such. I think it just means don't leak it to the press. Especially if you don't have any fucking evidence that he's part of it. That would be the rough part. May 11, 2016, the SEC published its press release announcing charging of 7 individuals with no mention of charging of Hunter Biden. Right, because he wasn't a part of that. Galanis pleaded guilty to securities fraud based on bonds issued by a company affiliated with Native American tribe in South Dakota. The funds were reportedly supposed to be used for certain projects that were instead used for his personal finances. He was sentenced in 2017 to 14 years. House Republicans interviewed Galanis from his prison cell as part of the impeachment inquiry. Yeah, that's the guy we saw, whatever. This guy fucking admitted guilt in this. Archer was also tied to the scheme and convicted in 2018 for defrauding the Native American tribal entity and various investment advisory clients of tens of millions of dollars in connection with his issuance of bonds by the tribal entity and the subsequent sale of those bonds through fraudulent and deceptive means. Archer was sentenced to a year and a day in prison as part of the ongoing impeachment inquiry, demanding all documents and communications between the SEC and the White House and blah, 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 because they're sure he was part of it, even though the other 2 guys say he wasn't. His actual, partners in that company. And what their partnership was in the holding company for the money, where the other guys got their money that they put into the holding company was what got them in trouble.
Happening like this with the Securities and Exchange Commission is just more evidence of how
it's not evidence.
The deep state has always covered for the Bidens, and this is why
then if the deep state is always covered, Hunter Biden's counsel responds to SEC subpoena. This is in 2016. Fuck are you talking about? Why? Who? First of all, he's not in, this is April. This is the last year in office. He's not even running for president at this point, and he doesn't decide for another 2 years after that. He's on his way out the door.
Titled son.
Joe is. Hunter was never holding office, obviously.
Has been able to get away with taking tens of millions of dollars from our adversaries around the world for over a decade.
Donald Trump got $17 million from the Chinese for killing the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and he took $15 million out of it in cash in a secret bank account that he had in China for years that had never had more than $700,000 in it. And he took that money out while he was the sitting president of the United States. He was also mobbed up the ass, and that's why Trump Tower is one of the biggest concrete structures, because he was so mobbed up he could get concrete on the cheap in exchange for favors and the like around. That's why Eric says I poured concrete or whatever. Never mind the fact that they used a bunch of Chinese steel in it as well. Deep state.
It's freaking incredible to see,
isn't it? It's so incredible. It's almost like there's something there, but yet not.
I mean, it all just starts to make so much sense. That's the first thing I thought was, man, does that take some guts to start pumping millions from China into 10 accounts of your sister and your cousin and everyone else. I mean,
yeah, that's not how it worked at all, asshole. We've all seen the actual money. There's not tens of millions. There's not even millions of dollars going into his family accounts. Even like the daughter account that they keep talking about was like $40,000 for school. He's paying stuff out to family members and stuff to help them with the money he's making at the time. He's not paying them off. They weren't part of the actual deal. It's weird.
It's so obvious. Like, how could they have the cojones to pull this thing off? I see now, because you can just drop daddy's name and people scramble to make it go away for you. And this, this at 55 years old.
Hey, you have access to all of the SEC documents and the indictment against the other two dudes. Read it. Like, hold on. Oops, sorry. Let's see. Hold on one second. There you go. There you go. Southern District of New York. For immediate release, U.S. Attorney's Office, Southern District of New York. This is January 31st, 2020. Jason Galanis pleads guilty in Manhattan federal court to multiple fraudulent schemes. This is when Donald Trump was president of the United States. And if at any point, and this was, by the way, it was understood at this point, by this point, that Biden was more than likely, was getting close to being the nominee. And he was the only nominee that scared Trump. So if they had an opportunity to squeeze somebody, and this very well may have been what they were doing, that they were squeezing Galanis to try and get him to, to implicate Hunter Biden, and again, trying yet another in many vain attempts to try and get an investigation kickstarted about Hunter and Joe. And it didn't work. And the United States Attorney for Southern District of New York announced that Jason Galanis pled guilty today for his participation in multiple fraudulent schemes. In particular, Galanis pled guilty for his role in a scheme to manipulate the market for Garova Financial Group, a publicly traded company listed on the New York Stock Exchange, and to defrauding the shareholders of that company, the Garova scheme, as well as to defraud the clients of an investment advisory firm. Galanis also pled guilty to defrauding a Native American tribal entity and investing the investing public of tens of millions of dollars in connection with the issuance of bonds by the tribal entity. Galanis pled guilty to 3 counts of conspiracy to commit securities fraud, 2 counts of securities fraud, 1 count of investment advisor fraud, and 1 count of conspiracy to commit investor advisor fraud before U.S. District Judge P. Kevin Castile. He had previously pled guilty in July 2016 for his participation in the Garova scheme, and in January 2017 for his participation in the tribal bond scheme, but those convictions were subsequently vacated. As he admitted today, he orchestrated so basically they vacated his convictions under Trump. Pled guilty to these things. Trump becomes president in January of 2017. Then they vacated them. He gets this deal effectively. He's out and walking around, and then they refile, and he goes to jail. And he's tried in 2020. That's as long as they could fucking put it off. It's almost as if they put it off so they could run this closer to the next election. Right? That they did this so it would be in more election interference. Let's this guy was a business partner of Hunter Biden's. He pled guilty to this shit back then. Joe's not running, he wasn't running in 2016, right? So how about we wait until, 2020, and then we'll bring him back in and we'll make a news story out of this again. It's fucking lame. It's exactly what was going on.
Hunter has been doing this long enough. He's like, I can get away with anything. I don't care anymore.
If he can get away with anything, why didn't the deals go through? Also, insofar as anybody paying money to China and getting China money, the only person in this entire conversation that actually engaged in the importing of anything from China was this fucker, and he imported weed.
I want to switch. I want to pivot to NewsGuard. And for those in the audience that don't know what this is, it's a massively biased left-wing attack dog. NewsGuard provides what they call reliability ratings for news companies, which are
so you're going to be all butthurt?
Complete BS. They always label outlets like Newsmax, anything conservative is disinformation, and MSNBC and CNN and all the other nonsense that's even worse on the left is all perfectly fine.
Yeah, I think it's just based on which networks aren't run out of a garage. I think that, you know what? I think it's classist, Rob shit. I think they're Rob shitting on you. That's it.
So this is a fake.
Yes, Dr. 13, we did talk about that, I think, in the morning show on Monday.
Organization. Their goal is obviously to bully conservative media out of existence. They want to have just.
How would it?
One dialogue in this country. They want to have left-wing authoritarianism. Your committee has now launched an investigation into NewsGuard. You sent a letter to the CEOs, two guys named Stephen Brill and Gordon Krovitz, demanding documents related to their relationship with the federal government. What is it that you're looking for specifically?
Yeah. What? Also, they do the same thing with Mediaite and the like, and they're aligned with the Democrat Party.
Well, we know
it
that
couldn't possibly be that people watch Rob's shit show and go, "This guy is full of schmidt."
they receive some federal funding. They have a government contract. We want to know what their criteria is that they use in determining which news networks are telling the truth.
That would be this site right here. Let's see. Process. Podcast rating, processing criteria, TV rating process, website, misinformation, fingerprint process. Let's see. Why should you trust us? Here we go. This is because we're trained journalists who spend our careers dedicated to the profession, because you can see the credentials and the backgrounds of everyone responsible. If you want to, for every NewsGuard reliability rating and nutritional label that you read, for the names and biographies of our staff and contributors, click here. We have ethics and conflicts of interest policy, which all of our analysts and editors have to agree on. You can read that policy here because we are totally transparent about how we make all of our decisions. Our nutrition label write-up explain what is behind our decisions. We disclose and explain in detail the 9 criteria we use to rate each news site. Well, look at there. Hey, there you go. This is our website rating, process, and criteria. Look at that. I'm saving the taxpayers' money, Comer. It took me 8 seconds. It was a lot of digging, but it was. I'm gonna go with 3 clicks deep. Score and rating levels, let's see, 100 for high credibility. The website adheres to all 9 standards of credibility and transparency. So let's see. NewsGuard employs a team of journalists experienced in the criteria assess basic practices of credibility and transparency based on a site's performance on these 9 apolitical criteria, which are each weighed differently with the points all adding up to 100. It's assigned down a 0 to 100 score, also expressed as 0% to 100%, and a rating level indicated by the degree which it adheres to the weighted criteria. The accompanying nutrition label accessible by clicking through the listed score, then explains how NewsGuard arrived at its assessment. So not only did they do it in general and they put it here, but you can also click on the rating in terms of of any particular website that they're going after, and you can go, how did you come about that rating? There you go. Satire. Humor satire site receives a satire rating, indicating that while it may use news as a basis for its satire, it is not a traditional news website. We do not rate these sites according to the 9 journalistic criteria, but we do provide a description of each site, including, if possible, who is behind it. And then platform. A site receives a platform rating if it primarily hosts content directly published by users with limited vetting. That would be Twitter. Shitter, as it were. There's the criteria. Let's see. Criteria. Does not repeatedly publish false or egregiously misleading content. The site does not repeatedly, gathers and presents information responsibly. Has effective practices for correcting errors. Handles the difference between news and opinion responsibly. That's the problem with Newsmax, because they have no news and all opinion. Avoids deceptive headlines. Yeah, that's where you're getting a big dent. Website discloses ownership and financing. Nope. Clearly labels advertising. That's not even true on Truth Sinkhole. I have no Facebook stars option, Ginger. That's terrible. I should. There's no Facebook stars available. I'm just saying at some point there's going to be a class action lawsuit against Facebook because they remove creators, like payments without any particular reason. They just shut it off and let it hang for a while. Yeah, that should happen. I'm just saying. And the site provides the names of content creators along with either contact or biographical information. That's 5 points, 5 points. There you go. The scoring process. There's the scoring process. That's how they do it. And apparently this is very confusing for these two douchebags. They could look it up, but they're lazy and they're liars. They're lazy liars. They're lying, but they're too lazy to even lie well.
Which are not. This is used, as you know, Rob, as a tool to dissuade advertisers from advertising on conservative networks. It's also used as a...
Yeah, I mean, there's also that whole, like, supporting an adjudicated rapist thing that probably makes it hard to get anybody but the fucking well-lubed catheter people to advertise on your channel.
Tool to try to encourage platforms like DirecTV and other platforms that have a bunch of different TV channels to not allow certain networks on their platform.
Nope. No. I got news for you. These platforms, DirecTV and the others, do not give a rat's ass if you are not a reliable source. They just want the eyeballs. They sell ads on top of the ads on all the cable channels on DirecTV or everything else. They don't give a rat's ass if you're honest or not. They're not looking for dependability. There are lines they won't cross, and that's the problem Newsmax has. Newsmax's biggest problem is that they are habitual line steppers.
So we've seen through the Twitter files that the government was involved in a coordinated effort to censor conservative speech.
No. You got your, oh, all right. Thank you, Brandon, for, well, follow on Facebook if you guys can. I don't know why I don't have stars right now. Maybe they're down. It's very weird.
We wonder
There's always the Venmo. Just saying. Cup of coffee? Come on. All right. Anyways.
if NewsGuard is also used as a tool to censor conservative speech. So we have a lot of questions for them. And because they get federal money, they fall under the jurisdiction of the House Oversight Committee. So
yeah, it's good. It's very exciting.
We've requested these documents. We also want to know if they're communicating with some of the same people that were communicating with Twitter in their efforts.
No, those people were in the Trump White House
to do things like to pull.
Hold on. Want somebody just in the chat room? What was it? Liberal Dan is coming to see Nerd Halen July 20th in Texas. Oh, that's awesome. Maybe Texas Paul can be there. It'll be a big. We'll do a big round table.
The New York Post account over the laptop story.
Right. Right. No, not right. Not at all. You notice how that was a 5-minute segment on Newsmax, okay? And in that 5-minute segment, they spent 2.5 minutes talking about a case from 2016 that has already been through the legal system. Everybody involved with the actual crime in that situation is behind bars. Hunter Biden turned over all documents related to his relation to the holding company they were talking about. And on top of that, if I may, and on top of that, oh, nice. Texas Paul will be there. Yeah. Stars on Facebook has been down. Oh, boo. Yeah, at this point, that case is run and done. There's nothing to be done there. But again, we're in an election year, and just like the Trump DOJ brought back the Galanis case by basically vacating, or allowing to vacate or just not prosecuting again his case until 2020 to try and make it, germane to the election cycle in 2020, which it failed to do, didn't do shit, because Hunter wasn't involved in any of that shit. Devin Archer has said so. Galanis has said so. He played no part in, and he turned over documents. And all they asked was like, yeah, don't fucking drag us into their bullshit. We have no part of this, and don't try to use this to dirty up the vice president, you assholes, which is effectively what happened. And this is 2016, by the way. Super weird. So, anyways, I gotta move on because I'm I'm always short on time. There's no way I can cover all of this. I'll show you. There's so much. Well, first of all, I think I should probably let me do the boring news first. I'll do a little bit. We don't have to do the whole thing. But the number one guy running to be Donald Trump's running mate right now is this guy, Doug Burgum. Burgum? Hey, man, I had Burgum once down there when I was okay. I was about to say I was in Louisiana, but I wasn't in Louisiana. I woke up in Louisiana, but that is not where I fell asleep. Okay. So, anyways, I went down there. I was down there, and somebody said, "Hey, you ever tried Burgum before?" And I was like, "No, I have no." Gulp. And I was drinking it down before it even, and it's some sort of like honey wine. It's not quite like mead. It's like mead meets toilet whiskey from prison. That's what Burgum is. Yeah, sour Burgum, man. And you drink it out of a jug over your shoulder. I chipped 4 teeth and a gum drinking out of that stuff, but boy, that was a good old time. Anyways, I suppose this feller got his name from that beverage, and that's why he's going to be, that's why he's so famous down there. That's why he ran for office and got to think of people like, I love Burgum, and then they just voted for their favorite kind of toilet whiskey. Let's see what he got to say. All right, here we go.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks for being here. I want to...
I'd like to be in one of the few businesses that Donald Trump has never tried to run, namely a store that sells actual stuff, because he would have collapsed the whole fucking thing. Doug Burgum speaks to reporters at Trump campaign economic event in Walker, Michigan. It looks like he's at a deli.
Thank Tim and Teresa, obviously, fantastic host this morning. What an amazing business.
Yeah, all the A1 we could drink.
And this is the best of America right here. You got an entrepreneur who takes a risk.
This is the best of the America.
With his wife, starts this business, and now creating jobs and creating community. What's going on here? How do you have a better morning? We've already met a veteran here today, one of your customers, and then we meet another incredible story about a young person that's in recovery.
It's amazing. It's almost as if every person you met in that store was brought there specifically for the purpose of creating a campaign soundbite. It's so organic.
So this is where it's happening, and it's in places like Sobe Meats where this election is going to be determined.
It's a voting site?
I'll talk about that.
It's in places like Sobe Meats where it will be determined, because everybody that comes in here to buy some chicken gizzards or some goose liver or some day-old hamburger is going to get an earful of what a great guy Donald Trump is from the guy behind the counter.
In a second, but I do want to thank the ambassador, now chairman of the GOP in Michigan, also for being here today and helping host us. And of course, I want to thank First Lady Catherine for everything she's doing across the country as she works to eliminate the shame and stigma of disease and addiction. But I get.
Oh, you mean like what Hunter went through that you guys are shitting on all the time? That's nice.
When I say election's going to turn in a place like this, it absolutely is, because this is where the everyday working American who's got a job and they've got a paycheck, and they come and then they get hit in the face with inflation.
Oh, I see. So this guy is jacking up his prices. Is that what you're saying?
And at the end of the month, whether it's the food on the table, the gas in the car, the price of electricity in their home.
Mm-hmm. So you're at a discount grocery store, are you? You're not at a place with its own direct butcher shop where the food is, or the meat is actually cut fresh and stuff, as opposed to, going to a regular grocery store where it's prepackaged and either frozen or shipped in the same day. You're going to a store that actually has a butcher in it for the cheapest price.
Some of them, I'm sure, have said, "Hey, I'd love to buy a house, but with interest rates, the American dream is out of reach."
My parents paid, I think, was it 17% interest rate on our first house when I was a kid.
And every election in the end turns on people saying, am I better off than I was 4 years ago? And I think everybody in Michigan is going to be able to say this is not a theoretical thing. They actually had an opportunity to live under when President Trump was in office for 4 years, and they were.
Yes, when this place was totally vacant and you couldn't get meat at all because people in meatpacking plants were dying hand over fist.
Better off. The world was at peace. Our economy was.
Yes, nothing brings peace like a bunch of people staying home, where even the warlords are afraid of catching a disease.
Stronger. We
bring back COVID. That's Trump COVID 2024.
That administration that was supporting jobs into Michigan as opposed to trying to eliminate all these auto jobs as they pursue a strategy around EVs, which again is just enslaves us to China. We spent 40 years trying to get out from underneath OPEC. We finally got to Team USA and energy independence, and now we've got the Biden administration wants to make sure that we're buying all of our the battery is basically the engine in an EV car. We're going to buy all of our engines from China. The world's
no, the battery's not the engine. Just for the record, and no. And as a matter of fact, can I just? Yeah, he's totally boring. Can I just do a? Let's see. Hey, you know where some of those batteries are going to come from? Anybody know? Big step forward for $5 billion Northwest Georgia EV battery plant. That's right, a battery plant that's actually in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district. Hold on, I gotta make this up. There we go. Here's another one. Hyundai SK building new battery plant to Bartow County, bringing 3,500 new jobs. Bartow County, Georgia, baby. A new Hyundai electric vehicle battery manufacturing facility will bring billions of dollars of investment and thousands of new jobs to Georgia. And Doug Burgum and Marjorie Taylor Greene want to tell those people in Georgia, in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district, to go fuck themselves. I think this guy's a winner. I don't see how there is any way that this guy isn't the VP. Call it a done deal. He's the closest thing to a Dan Quayle that will stand next to Trump right now. Yeah. Just magic. Oh, okay. Now, let me jump back over to our usual level of craziness. Why talk sensibly about anything when you can have... this could destroy us all. This doctor warned about Fauci 20 years ago. Will we listen before it's too late? Richard E. Bright first warned about gain-of-function research in Dr. Fauci back in 2001. Recently, he sat down for a rare interview with Blaze Media managing news editor Leon Wolf to explain why we're not out of the danger zone yet.
Blaze Media managing news editor is somebody I don't usually have on. He usually says, no.
Yeah, his right-wing circle jerk.
Welcome to Leon Wolf. Hi, Leon. How are you?
Glenn, thanks so much for having me on the program today. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, good. I know. Good to talk to you. So, by the way, great stuff happening at the Blaze. Congratulations. Blaze.com is better than it's ever been.
Yeah, ad-wise?
By far better than it's ever been.
So you're not posting anymore on there is what you're saying.
And you brought a story that we're keeping in front of the paywall because it's so important.
That should tell you something, right? That should tell you something. If anything is important, why put it behind a paywall at all? Yeah? Why wouldn't you just, again, that's why, thanks to our Patreon people, thanks to our super chatters like Barbara and Lisa, why I don't put any of the show content of this behind a paywall at all. Because I think it's all important. And therefore, why would I go, these secret tools that and inside information I'll just only show to certain people. fuck that? If you actually care, why wouldn't you just say everything? Why would you hide a portion of the news like that? I get why newspapers have to do it, but indie, programs don't have to do it at all. Yes, thank you, Patreon people.
You talk to a guy that just doesn't want to talk to anybody. I don't know how you got this, but there is a guy, a Democrat, who has been fighting against Anthony Fauci and warning that he's going to destroy the world and kill all of us.
Well, he retired before he got a chance to do it, so oops.
Since 2001?
Yeah, 2001 was really when.
Really? Anthony Fauci had 20 years to destroy the world and he couldn't manage to do it?
When it began. I started, researching this. I wanted to really understand, like, how, there's been a lot of discussion about gain of function research. And so I wanted to,
Yeah, there has, actually. Hold on. There was a specifically, if I may, let's see. Someone here. And we go to this guy. And we open this here. And we go down to this business. And, yeah. Yeah, let's try to, rats. Hold on. I got it here. Don't even try. Oh, quit it. I don't want enhancers for YouTube. Get the hell out of here. Close. Here you go. Let's turn this up. And we'll do here. In case we have any maggots that are new to the program. How about this business? Let's see. We go to here.
Imagine that the United States is making payments to a Chinese lab. So just that on its face didn't make sense, but I stopped that.
The Obama administration did hit pause on gain-of-function research, though, and that was lifted under your watch. Why did you allow the gain-of-function research to continue?
Well, I think probably people that worked for me looked at it, and at one point they might have done that. But ultimately, what we did was we shut it off. We shut the whole thing off, and we stopped making payments that were approved much earlier than our administration.
Now, what he means is, if I may, for everybody, the payments that were made before his administration were the security payments to make sure that nothing, how do I put this, leaked from the lab. And Trump came into office, his people, because nothing's ever his fucking fault, turned back on gain of function, let it go for a couple of years, and shockingly, 2 years later, and then they cut the funding for security, and then weirdly enough, some sort of disease that may have been created through gain of function manages to get out of a lab, the exact lab he cut the funding for the fucking security from. Weird. Not weird. Not weird. That's weird. Not weird to anybody?
Like, get an understanding. When did this start? What's been the progress of it? What's the history of it? What I found, going back to, old news reports, even as far back as 2001 when the program began, was that there was one name that continued to pop up over and over and over again, that when people would go and find people, let's get the side of the story that doesn't want this to continue. And it was the same guy over and over again, and his name is Dr. Richard Ebright. And I had followed him on Twitter since the beginning of the pandemic. I didn't really know much about him, but I thought, this is fascinating. Here's a guy, I've been following him for 2 or 3 years. He's been doing this for 2 decades. And I thought to myself, the world has heard Anthony Fauci's side of this story ad nauseum. I think somebody should get this guy's side of the story because it feels like he's probably been right. So I reached out to him, called him, and he immediately graciously agreed to give me his time. And, what you see is the result of that.
So in the story you go on, it was right after 9/11 and we had anthrax and, we got to prepare in case they start using bioweapons. And that's when Anthony Fauci started saying, we need gain of function research. And why was Albright against this?
So Ebright, his position...
Ebright, sorry.
Yeah, Ebright's position, which I think has been vindicated, is that the more biological agents that you put in the hands of researchers, the more dangerous and not less dangerous that you make it. Because historically, and this is true,
the more you study, the worse things get. The more you know about something, the more dangerous it becomes. Ignorance is indeed bliss.
Most biological attacks have not been carried out by terrorists. They've been carried out by people who are researchers with axes to grind, who released them on purpose. And in fact, as I'm sure your listeners will remember, he said that in 2001. The final result of the anthrax investigation was not completed until 2008. Totally vindicated that, because the person who released all the anthrax was an authorized government researcher who had, legal access to the anthrax. That's how he got a hold of it. So he's
right. Yeah, we know this. Again, this has nothing to do with the value of the research. It just means tighten up your security. That doesn't. Again, it's like, imagine if somebody said they were doing these crash tests. They were taking cars and they crashed into walls to see if the cars themselves were, could stand up to something. And there's this one car that just could, it cracked the wall or whatever. And this guy drove it off the lot and ran over a bunch of people. The fuck does that have to do with the tests about whether or not cars can survive a crash? That's the mentality here. This is, and let's see. Did Dr. Paul, there's a thing. Hold on. This is Dr. Paul, get the fuck out of here. I don't know why this is behind a paywall though. Aggravating. There you go. Continue. Okay, excellent. Here you go. This is the guy. Scientific expert declares there is zero evidence for natural COVID-19 origin. That's this guy. That's Richard Embright. A panel of scientists fiercely debated Tuesday whether COVID-19 stemmed from a laboratory accident or naturally spread from animals to humans. With one expert, it's shocking that Republicans would find the one expert, declaring there was zero evidence for a natural origin of the pandemic that killed millions around the world. Rutgers University molecular biologist Dr. Richard Ebright said in his opening statement before the Senate Homeland Security Committee that a large preponderance of evidence indicates that SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID, entered humans through a research incident. That's him. Hello. And by the way, are we sure this isn't Roger Ebert? I mean, I'm starting to think Roger Ebert faked his death and fulfilled his dream of becoming a molecular biologist. All right. Ebright, who was joined in arguing for the so-called lab leak theory by Dr. Stephen Quay, a former professor at Stanford University of Medicine, added that zero secure evidence points to COVID's natural origins. The probability this actually came from nature based on these features is 1 in a million, Quay occurred. Okay, do you know how many fucking diseases there are? 1 in a million is not a big deal. It's like saying this is a 1 in a million person. There's 8 billion people on the fucking planet. It means there's 800 million of these fuckers running around. Okay, COVID-19 emerged in Wuhan, China, more than 800 miles from the closest bats harboring SARS. Yeah, but that's where they bring them in. That's not the surprising part. The now barred Wuhan Institute of Virology, the global epicenter of research on bat SARS viruses. He went on and carried a U.S.-funded gain of research function between 2014 and 2021. Now, they stopped for a period, and then they started again. It's interesting that they talk about this because there was a gap in here, as we know, between 2014 and 2021, because the Obama administration stopped it. They've been doing it, I guess, in 2014. They stopped it in 2015, in less than a year. And yet, as soon as Trump got in, they restarted it. During that research period, the WIV Wuhan Institute of Virology conducted the world's largest research program about bat SARS viruses and had the world's largest collection of bat SARS viruses, including the virus most commonly similar to SARS-CoV-2, Ebright added. Additionally, the Rutgers prof said the Wuhan lab obtained SARS viruses that had high pandemic potential in the 4 years before COVID-19, and just 1 year later had run research that genetically modified the viruses that match in detail the features of SARS-CoV-2. By 2015, Ebright noted scientists at a meeting of the members of the Royal Society and U.S. National Academy of Sciences had singled out the WIV experiments as the most likely of all research in the world to trigger a pandemic. The research was funded in part by more than $4 million National Institute of Health grant to the since suspended Manhattan-based public health nonprofit EcoHealth Alliance. That's the Peter Daszak fucker. About $500,000, which was directly flowed to WIV. Another $815 was given to WIV through subgrants that originated in the U.S. Agency for International Development and passed through the University of California, Davis, and EcoHealth. EcoHealth also lost its status as a federal grantee for likely violating biosafety standards with its WIV project entitled "Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence," and failing to immediately report the experiments, which resulted in a modified virus that was 10,000 times more infectious in lungs, 1 million times more infectious in brains, and 3 times more lethal in humanized lab mice. The smoking gun evidence for a lab origin of COVID-19, Ebright clarified, came from a separate EcoHealth proposal to the DARPA Advanced Research Project Agency, which was never funded, that proposed the exact feature in a furin cleavage site in the virus. SARS-CoV-2 is the only one of more than 800 known SARS viruses that possess a furin cleavage site. This is the Peter Daszak dude. It was also downplayed the degree of Chinese cooperation in its DARPA proposal, arguing the experiments were going to take place in North Carolina's research lab under very high safety conditions, Quay pointed out. But the marginal comments and drafts that were only obtained through the Freedom of Information Act request said that Wuhan would lead the project since it was going to be cheaper and faster, Quay said. Same shit they were talking about the lab leak origin thing. And by the way, when he's saying there's zero evidence that it was natural, we don't know because it's China. This is the lesson learned from the whole thing, was that there was this idea that you could play nice with the CCP and that they were fair, in all their interactions, economic, biological, and certainly political. None of that is true, we now know. And Trump, again, was the one who held off our COVID response while he finished his trade deal, which didn't amount to a pile of shit.
He's been right about this all along in every step.
No, he hasn't. It's an unprovable. He makes this assertion, but there is no scientist in the world has come out and said, here's what makes this not natural and makes it a crafted virus. And they're all looking
for the way.
If they'd have found it, they'd have said it. There's nobody protecting China right now.
And, I just think it's remarkably prescient how accurate he's been. And I want your listeners, if they can, to put themselves in his shoes, because I think it's hard for me to even imagine this. Here he is. He's been saying this for 20 years. And among other things he said is...
Also, by the way, hold on one second. The idea that he's been saying that Anthony Fauci is going to create a disease since 2001 is a bunch of shit. Like, there is zero evidence of that. Like, this is just ridiculous.
Even if nobody releases this on purpose, one day you could have an accident.
Lab leak.
You've been warning about this for so long.
By the way, Glenn wants this to be an accidental lab leak because if it was on purpose, that means Donald Trump was the president of the United States during the worst biological weapon attack on the United States that cost us over 1 million Americans, and that instead of responding to the people who attacked us, in kind or getting on a war footing, he sold them the largest order of beef, pork, corn, and soybeans in U.S. history while Americans were on food lines. I guess this is the other thing. Like, if you think this was a crafted disease made on purpose and released as an attack on the United States, that means that Donald Trump shit the bed. Right? He was president during the worst bioweapon attack in American history. If that's what you believe, if you believe they did that, then you have to admit he was president when it happened. And what did he do? He spent almost half the year kissing Xi Jinping's ass.
Even if nobody
didn't
does it on purpose.
Didn't even say that even if it doesn't happen on purpose, if we are doing this, we're going to have so many labs all around the world that it just increases the chance that something will leak from one of them, right?
That's absolutely.
First of all, we're not the only ones that do it. The idea that we fund all of it is a more of this like America bad bullshit from the right that's now coming, that they're like trying to get ahead of the Jimmy Dores of the world. Although I would say he's on the right now, so it's a bad example, but on the left in that regard. So hold on.
Absolutely correct. That's absolutely correct. There was a New York Times did a profile on him 20 years ago, and that was the exact point that he made. And here comes 2020. He's been saying this. Fauci's been poo-pooing him this entire time, saying this is definitely not going to happen. And lo and behold, here the thing he's been warning about for 20 years happens. And he must have thought to himself, finally, it's terrible that this has happened, but at least I'm about to be vindicated. And amazingly, through the efforts of Fauci, Fauci convinces the world that he's somehow the good guy in all of this. I might have lost my mind if I had been trying to warn about this for 20 years. And the guy who's responsible somehow becomes the hero of the whole story.
Also, I don't think Ebright is making the case that Fauci in particular is for this. He's just anti-gain of function across the board. And he acts as though Fauci, say, since the beginning of the AIDS fight back in the late 80s, early 90s, has been pushing gain of function as the primary way we come about dealing with disease. It ain't. It's not. And by the way, this is fucking, they throw an ad in the middle of this. These broke motherfuckers.
It's a promo code Beck and save. And he's a registered Democrat. He's testified now in front of Congress, and he registered Democrat. He said, I voted for Biden. I had a Biden sign in my lawn. So you can't really make this into a partisan kind of thing. So where is he at now? What are people?
Obviously, he's been killed by the deep state, and he's in hiding even after he's dead.
Starting to listen to him at all, or is Fauci still going to win on this gain of function stuff?
No,
he's
retired. He thinks, and I agree, that there is an emerging bipartisan consensus that something needs to be done. And his testimony, I would encourage anybody who hasn't yet, because it didn't get as much TV coverage as the Fauci hearing in front of the House a couple of weeks ago. But his testimony in front of the Senate on Tuesday, him and there were 3 other witnesses, I thought was a rare example. Like most of these are just kind of dog and pony shows. Everybody's showboating to the cameras. I really felt that the Democrats on the committee, including Gary Peters of Michigan, Maggie Hassan of New Hampshire, they were all asking, I thought, really good, intelligent questions that signaled, I think, that people are starting to wake up. We got to get a handle on this. I mean, this is literally threat.
Well, then how is this if you're even admitting it's not a partisan issue amongst the people that are there? How the fuck? There's Rand Paul in this thing because they call him Dr. Rand Paul. There's this guy, and then they go to that guy, and then I think Ebright is here's Ebright's statement. Here we go.
Pathogen Security Working Group for the state of New Jersey.
Chairman Peters, Member Paul, Ranking Member Paul, and members of the committee. Thank you.
And the ghost of Gene Siskel.
For inviting me to discuss the origins of COVID-19. I'm Board of Governors Professor of Chemistry and Chemical Biology at Rutgers University and Laboratory Director at the Waxman Institute of Microbiology. In my statement, I will present my assessment of the origin of COVID and will summarize key lines of evidence that support my assessment. I assess that a large preponderance of evidence indicates SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID, entered humans through a research incident.
Okay, a large preponderance of evidence. At least he's being a scientist about it.
I base this assessment on information in publicly available documents, press reports, and scientific papers.
Press reports?
On my research experience in microbial genomics, microbial genetics, DNA synthesis technology, and recombinant DNA technology, and on my knowledge of and experience with biosafety, biosecurity, and biorisk management for work with pathogens. 4 key facts support my assessment. First, COVID emerged in Wuhan, a city that is 800 miles from the closest bats harboring SARS-CoV-2-like viruses that could have served as progenitors of SARS-CoV-2.
Yeah, but they captured bats in that area and brought them to the lab. They directly brought them there. So the idea that if he's making the case they didn't accidentally come from a bat, nobody believes that. They found, they sent that bat woman down there to find every bat with the sniffles and brought it back to the lab to look at it, to watch it, see if it dies, see if there's a disease that germinates in it.
But that contains lab that prior to the outbreak were conducting the world's largest research program on bat SARS viruses, possessed the world's largest collection of bat SARS viruses, and possessed the virus most closely similar to SARS-CoV-2. The large distance between Wuhan and bats harboring SARS-CoV-2-like viruses points away from a natural origin of COVID and Wuhan's status as the global epicenter.
Well, again, real quick, is there any evidence that they stored the bats properly and separately from each other? Seriously. Because if you get bats that have it and, they give it to each other, there'll be a variant in there. Maybe they mix them up. They find a couple that actually have the disease and they're putting them in cages. Do we know anything about how the bats, were they kept, in hermetically sealed, effectively chambers away from other diseased bats? Were they aware of all of them that had it so that it actually became a melting pot of, a United Colors of Benetton site? Right?
Center of research on bat SARS viruses points toward a research origin of COVID. Second, in the 4 years preceding the outbreak, Wuhan...
Also, by the way, I wouldn't rule out that they crafted this as well and that they fucked around and it got loose. Again, Trump cut the security funding for this place, and Obama cut the gain of function research grant and disallowed it, and Trump turned that back on. So all of this is shitty for Trump, and it points to a reason why this guy voted for Biden.
Labs performed research that placed them on a trajectory to obtain SARS viruses having high pandemic potential. And in 2018, 1 year before the outbreak, Wuhan Labs proposed research to obtain SARS viruses having even higher pandemic potential and features that match in detail the features of SARS-CoV-2. Wuhan Labs performed high-risk virus discovery and gain-of-function research on bat SARS viruses.
Right. And the Obama administration shut that down, and the Trump administration turned it back on.
In their virus discovery research, Wuhan researchers searched for new bat viruses in caves in southern China, brought samples to Wuhan, and sequenced, cultured, and characterized new viruses in Wuhan.
Right.
In their gain-of-function research, Wuhan researchers genetically modified bat SARS viruses, constructing viruses having enhanced ability to infect human cells and having enhanced viral growth and enhanced lethality in mice engineered to possess human receptors for SARS viruses, so-called humanized mice. Already in 2015, scientists expressed concern that the Wuhan Institute of Virology was conducting research that posed unacceptably high risk.
All right, 1 second. I'm looking something up. Let's see. $2015, you say? Let's run that by me again. And by the way, maggots, pay attention to this.
The Wuhan Institute of Virology was conducting research that posed unacceptably high risk. At a 2015 Royal Society and National Academies meeting on gain-of-function research and its oversight, the research on bat SARS viruses by the Wuhan Institute of Virology and its collaborators was singled out as the research most likely of all research in the world to trigger a pandemic.
Crazy. 2015, you say? 2015, so the royal group of people came in there and they did that, and the royal folks and they did this in 2015. You say the 2015 was when that happened. So you're saying in 2015 everybody was saying we should probably not be doing this, and oh, what's this? In 2014. White House to cut funding for risky biological study. Prompted by controversy over dangerous research and recent laboratory accidents, the White House announced Friday that it will temporarily halt all new funding for experiments that seek to study certain infectious agents by making them more dangerous. It also encouraged scientists involved in such research on the influenza, SARS, and MERS viruses to voluntarily pause their work while its risks were assessed. Opponents of this type of research, called gain of function, we've heard about that, right? For example, attempts to create a more contagious version of the lethal H5N1 avian influenza to learn which mutations made it that way were elated. Brilliant, said Peter Hale, the executive director of the Foundation of Vaccine Research, which opposes such experiments. The government has finally seen the light. This is what we have been waiting for and campaigning for. I shall sleep better tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2014, the White House under Barack Obama and Joe Biden. Yeah, okay. Now, let's go to whoops. I can type. How long did Trump wait? U.S. lifts moratorium funding controversial high-risk virus research. The 3-year-old policy, 2014. In 2017, I forget who was president in December of 2017. Someone will have to remind me. The federal government announced on Tuesday that it is lifting a 3-year moratorium on funding controversial research that involves genetically altering viruses in ways that can make them more contagious, more deadly, or both, and that critics say risks triggering a catastrophic pandemic. In 2017, Donald Trump rolls in, he throws out the pandemic response team, and he kickstarts gain of function. Yeah. After Obama had stopped it. Called gain of function experiments, the studies aim to understand genetic changes that can make viruses such as bird flu, SARS, and MERS more transmissible from person to person. But if they escape from the lab, weird. It's almost like in 2017, they were kind of expecting that this would kind of go sideways. Perhaps through human error, the modified virus could, in theory, spread quickly or be extremely virulent, increasing the toll of an outbreak. The moratorium was imposed a few months after 2 mishaps at government labs, one handling anthrax and one handling avian flu, which together suggested that biosafety and biosecurity at even the most respected labs fell well short of what is needed to protect the public. Dr. Francis Collins, the director of the National Institute of Health, said the new policy didn't represent a significant shift since the NIH has continued to assess and fund some gain-of-function experiments even during the moratorium. Such studies will continue to be vetted by a federal panel before they can receive funding. This is Dr. Francis Collins, director of the NIH. This is not Anthony Fauci. But the decision to lift the moratorium did not sit well with scientists who have long warned the risk of such research and questions its benefits. I am not persuaded that the work is of greater potential benefit than potential harm, said molecular biologist Richard Ebright of Rutgers University, who has argued that U.S. labs working with dangerous pathogens regularly suffer serious biosafety lapses, experiments to create enhanced viruses, and he and others argue could lead to the pathogen's accidental release, most likely by a lab worker becoming infected and unknowingly and then walking out the door. A human is better at spreading viruses than an aerosol. That's this guy. That's this guy. This guy in 2017, and some maggot out there is going to have to remind me who was president in 2017. Now, the pause came in 2014. Before, what was it? Who was the big fancy pants that he was talking about?
Most likely of all research and its collaborators was singled out as the research most likely of all research in the world to trigger a pandemic. In 2017 to 2018, with NIH funding, the Wuhan Institute of Virology constructed genetically modified...
When?
With NIH, a pandemic. In 2017 to 2018, with...
Who was president then? Does anybody remember? Am I just going to have to keep covering this until somebody cries uncle, until some of these maggots out here start admitting that Donald Trump restarted gain of function research, and what was going on in 2017, 2018, literally everybody was screaming, this is going to lead to a pandemic, and it fucking well did. Good Lord.
NIH funding, the Wuhan Institute of Virology constructed genetically modified SARS viruses that combined the spike gene from one bat SARS virus with the rest of the genetic information from another bat SARS.
It's almost like they did it the year before it struck, and then here it came. And Donald Trump spent half of 2020 trying to get an end to his tariff war by selling a bunch of agricultural goods to China.
SARS virus. Obtaining new viruses that efficiently infected human cells, and obtaining at least one new virus that exhibited 10,000 times enhanced viral growth in lungs and 1 million times enhanced viral growth in brains.
All right. This is directly what these motherfuckers are citing. This is exactly what Glenn Beck is citing. In his article, this doctor warned about Fauci 20 years ago. Will we listen for? It's too late. No, he didn't warn about Fauci. He was worried about gain of function research. And under Donald Trump, gain of function research, which was shut down under the Obama administration, was restarted. Good Lord. This is January of 2017. White House announces review of process for risky virus studies. Federal officials today released a plan to help U.S. agencies decide whether to fund controversial studies to make viruses more dangerous. The guidance may finally bring an end to a moratorium that has kept a handful of experiments funded by the Department of Health on hold for more than 2 years. Let's see, where's the... let's see. Here you go. December 19th, 2017. Feds lift gain of function research pause, offer guidance. Isn't that adorable? The NIH, which at that time was not run by Anthony Fauci, did that. Scientists gear up to resume studies. Let's see. Yeah, Marshall colleagues renew effort to push. Let's see. Here's Senator Marshall. Hold on. It's a Kansas senator. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah. Here you go. Here's the notice about grants and funding. Notice announcing the removal of the funding pause for gain of function research projects. December 26th. Oh, it's fucking, you missed Christmas by one day. 2017. Hey, any maggots out there know who was president in 2017? Because I know who was president in 2014 when the pause on gain of function started. So maybe you can tell me who was president and had been president for almost a year at that point, in 2017. So I'm fairly certain it wasn't Obama and Biden together. No. Nope. Anybody? Yeah. Because I think we have do we have a couple of maggots in there? How are they responding to this? What's the general chat room? How are the maggots taking this? The fact that their super president, the guy who bankrupted a casino even though his dad bought $13 million worth of chips he never cashed in, and couldn't get Trump water, Trump steaks, Trump vodka, Trump wine, Trump airlines, and Trump football off the ground, and didn't even write his own business book, and is a second-generation rich kid with no perceivable skills at all, and made most of his bones as a game show host on NBC. They're still going to worship that guy, even though the gain of function had been paused under Obama and restarted under Trump. Nope, they're not gonna. You're just gonna let that slide, are you? You're cool with that. That's Obama's fault somehow. Obama stops it. Trump starts it up again. A year later, they're in the process, according to the witness that these assholes that Glenn Beck and Leon Wolf at the Blaze are citing. According to them and their witness, this guy they're pointing out, he says that the disease most likely to have become SARS-CoV-2 that attacked, or the novel coronavirus that attacked the world, was made somewhere between 2017 and 2018 after the moratorium on gain of function was lifted under Trump. And I gotta say, all the maggots, they're cool with it. They're all cool with it. Shit, we shouldn't even call it the China virus anymore. We ought to call it the Trump virus. Hashtag Trump virus. If he hadn't lifted the moratorium on gain of function when he did, that strain, according to the witnesses these guys are talking about, would have never been created, or certainly not during that period of time. And if he'd have just left it off, remember how he's always going like, if Biden had just left my policies alone, everything would have been fine. Well, if he'd have just left Obama's pause on gain of function alone, we would have never had the fucking pandemic. According to the witness that Glenn Beck and Leon Wolf are citing, and everybody who believes the lab leak theory is accidentally citing. I don't even think they're fucking aware. COVID-19 was the Trump virus. It was born, according to their witness, somewhere between 2017 and 2018, specifically because at the Wuhan Institute, they were seeking to make a virus exactly like that, and they were successful. And they would not have been able to do it if the pause on gain of function had not been lifted by Donald John Trump, a man who spent half of 2020 pretending the disease wasn't any big deal and kissing Xi Jinping's ass. It's what I do here. You're watching Hal Sparks Megaworldwide. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. Tomorrow morning, it's Friday Eye. And while Glenn and his dipshit followers are all panicking about a world where shitty work and dangerous work is done by robots and AI, and they have to justify their existence, the rest of us are looking forward to that day because we don't want our fellow human beings to have to do any of the mining or working on oil rigs or working with electricity or diffusing bombs or making sure that nuclear facilities don't, overload in the face of a tsunami. The rest of them will just create this kind of dystopian future that they'll only concoct it out of the 3 sci-fi references they can barely remember. Oh, thanks, Doc. I'll run at some point, but they got to let me keep my hair. I mean, it's about time America had a Zaphod Beeblebrox. I'm just saying. And I know who I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, let's see if I might have to check this. Hold on one second. Go to here. That. And then go to this one. And then go to this one. Go to. Yeah. And I think I got a good idea who my running mate might be. I think it should be the kidney.
The kidney has a very special place in the heart.
Agreed. And to all the Trumpers that are all butthurt right now because I just schooled them that COVID was Trump's fault, hashtag Trump virus, I give you perfect words.
Heard that Saudi Arabia and Russia will repeat your...
He's a genius. There's no way that he's not going to win the debates, and Biden can't put two words together, and you got nothing to worry about, and I wouldn't sweat it at all. See you guys tomorrow.
And 3 times enhanced lethality in humanized mice. In 2018, just 1 year before the outbreak, in an NIH grant proposal, the Wuhan Institute of Virology and collaborators proposed to construct additional genetically modified SARS viruses, proposing to construct viruses having spikes with even higher binding affinities for human SARS receptors, seeking viruses having even higher pandemic potential. Also in 2018, just 1 year before the outbreak, in a DARPA grant proposal, the Wuhan Institute of Virology and its collaborators proposed to construct genetically modified SARS viruses having a furin cleavage site, a feature associated with increased viral growth and increased transmissibility. They proposed to insert the furin cleavage site at the spike gene S1, S2 border and to construct the viruses by synthesizing 6 nucleic acid building blocks and assembling them using the reagent DSMB1. Third, Wuhan Labs performed this research on SARS viruses using an inadequate biosafety status, just biosafety level 2, and inadequate personal protective equipment, just gloves and a lab coat. Lab accidents that result in infection or release are common, even if biosafety levels higher than biosafety level 2. For context, the original SARS virus, SARS-CoV-1, caused lab-acquired infections in Singapore at biosafety level 3, in Beijing twice at biosafety level 3, and in Taipei at biosafety level 4. For further context, SARS-CoV-2 itself caused lab-acquired infections in Beijing in 2020 at biosafety level 3, and in Taipei in 2021 at biosafety level 3. The Wuhan Lab's use of biosafety level 2 for research on bat SARS viruses would have posed a high risk, a very high risk, of infection of lab staff upon encountering a virus having the aerosol transmission properties of SARS-CoV-2. Fourth, in 2019, a novel SARS virus having a spike with extremely high binding affinity for human SARS receptors, a furin cleavage site inserted at the spike S1, S2 border, and a genome sequence with features enabling assembly from 6 synthetic nucleic acid building blocks using the reagent DSMB1, a virus having the exact features proposed in the 2018 NIH and DARPA proposals, emerged on the doorstep of Wuhan Institute of Virology. SARS-CoV-2 is the only one of more than 800 known SARS viruses that possesses a furin cleavage site. Mathematically, this observation alone implies that the probability of finding